art for me has always been, a refuge. I like to come in and be alone because in everything else, you have to negotiate with people and you have to be caring about what someone else thinks, and you're not an island. But if you go into your studio and you work, you can do whatever you want. You can shut out the outside world no matter what's happening, and you get into the process. And it doesn't always go well, so then you could have your own issues about that, but it's still really nice to be able to do that. I think it's something that a lot of artists feel is pretty special. Felt is an interesting thing because it's the oldest, they think, the oldest type of fabric before weaving or knitting or any of that. And, you can make anything with felt, really. People make houses, and the yurts are made of felt. It can be very refined or it can be very kind of rough. It's kind of endless what you can do with felting. I go back and forth between art and craft. I guess I don't see that one is worth more than the other, and that's the main thing with me. I don't feel like craft has to try to be fine art either. It is what it is in itself, and it's like, just wonderful. So, but now I'm sort of switching to do stuff that you can think of it as fine art or you can think it as craft, but to me it makes no difference. Sometimes I explain the whole felting process to somebody and they say, so you knit it? And then I'm like, no knitting, no weaving. It's its own thing. I work very intuitively, so I'll sometimes sketch out something, but a lot of times not. I'll sort of pick out colors that I like. It's like a long, almost like rope, but it's wool that's been carded, and then it's easily broken apart. And you can lay it down in a shingle kind of fashion, and you were in one direction, another direction. I would create a template, which is usually, it can be round, it could be oblong, it could be whatever shape you want it to be. You basically start laying the wool down. I start with a circular fashion and then go opposite that. Then you would keep laying it down depending on what you want to make and how heavy you want it to be, and firm. And then you wet it down with soapy water in between bubble wrap. It has to be something that moves a little bit. Then you take the little ends that are sticking out and you flip them over. And then once that's done, you start the whole process of laying down again and just keep that up until you have enough layers. Then you'll rub it down until it becomes a little tighter. It starts to shrink a little bit, once it's starting to felt and coming together. Then you flip it to the other side and do that, and then you'll start rolling. You roll the whole thing up, and then you would roll either by hand, and I use my machine, the gentle roller. Flip it over, and then you do the other direction. Keep turning it until the wool fibers start catching on themselves, and it becomes a solid piece of fabric. Once it's firm enough, and you feel like you have, it's not going to fall apart on you or start felting to itself, then you cut a hole and pull out the resist in the middle. And then you start the whole process of rolling again and tossing and rubbing. You really should shrink it about 50%. If you start off with something this big, in the end it shrinks down to this amount. So it really, it takes a long time to get it down to that. It starts shrinking initially pretty fast, but then once you get to the 40%, to get the last 10% takes a lot of effort. I wanted to make something practical, so I started making clothing and shawls and stuff, which is fine, and I was selling them. But I didn't want to do it anymore, and I thought, to make money at this, I'm just going to have to constantly be, it was like a day job again, I guess. But I thought, I'm just going to make whatever I want. Made something that has 3D, and I thought, oh, this is not bad, So I started doing that, and people started really liking them, and it made a huge difference. To me, it's not different because I'm always into whatever I'm doing, but I've had a lot of people say to me, wow, this is like really, moved to a different level now, and I'm just really, I'm happy to hear it, but, I'm always just into what I'm doing at the time. I sometimes don't know what to say, I'm like, okay, it is what it is, and I like it, things just being what they are, they're their own, I don't know. I was going to say they're their own person, but it's not all about intellect, I guess, sometimes. There's something deeper in people. Like, people have been making vessels since the beginning of time, and I'm sure they started off just being utilitarian, but then they were decorating them, and they were making things beautiful just for the sake of it, and, that's its own meaning, I think. Why do humans do that? It's important. A friend of mine got a little bowl for me, and a little vessel, and she had grandkids, and she said that her grandson loved the thing. He'd go around, and she said he would very carefully hold it too. He wouldn't and he could have squashed it and pulled it out, it would have been fine, but he would go around because he just loved the feeling of it. And sometimes people, I'll say with a vessel here, try it, and everybody's always surprised because it's, it has form, but it's really light. It feels good to hold this stuff, I would come home from work, and it would be I'd get home I don't know, 6, and then eat something at 7. I would work from 7 to 11 at night. At that time, I realized I didn't realize I could stop in the middle of stuff too, so I kept going on, and my husband would be waiting to go to bed, and I'm like, okay, you go. It was hard, I don't know if I'm much more productive now in a way that I'm not working anymore, but at least a day job. But you have time for other things. It gets to be, if you're working, I can't even emphasize the difference when you can not have to work all day and then work all night. It makes a difference, for sure. My husband always wanted to live in Maine, and I was laid off. So I thought, well, if I sell my loft in Boston, I can move to Maine and have some money to live on, because I was 62 at the time, and I couldn't really retire, and I didn't have the money for that. We ended up coming here, and it's been great. And I have to say, the galleries and stuff that I've gotten involved with here, it's just been wonderful. Sometimes things happen in your life that seem really not great at the time. I would have just kept working and struggling because I needed to, make money, and I was worried about having enough for when I was older. And so I was kind of forced into it, but boy, am I glad. It's been great. It's wonderful to spend my time doing what I want. I've had jobs I liked, and, jobs that were good, but it was never really what I wanted to do totally. I always wanted to do my own thing, so I'm grateful for that they helped pay my way, and that's something probably young people need to know if you want to get into this field. Not everybody's an art star, You have to just like what you're doing, and you have to find a way to support yourself at the same time, which is the hard part, I always did it because I wanted to, but it's, you have to let go of some things. I guess my main advice for young artists would be to not be like how I was, I think, to just constantly be thinking, I have to get better all the time, I'm not good enough for this, I'm not, just try to let go of your doubt in yourself if you have that problem, which I think a lot of artists do, and just see what happens, self-doubt can really make you not open to things, I feel like there are opportunities that I didn't take because of that. And, at this age, I think, what the hell was I thinking of? Just do it, and believe that somebody else believes in you, even if you don't believe in yourself, it's, and, after a while you will, because things are happening.